Hello YouTube! Welcome to my room in California, where I have returned to. So I have left Japan, and I am back in the US, and I'm sorry for the delay. That took about a month, 2 months longer than I thought it was going to. So essentially, I moved back to the US from Japan in August. And in August, I went to visit my family in New York. And I've since left New York in September, but the transition, it was basically impossible to do any videos while I was in New York because I didn't really have the space. And with all of the stress of traveling in August, I didn't have any time. And then it took me a long time to get set up when I moved here in September, and to get adjusted to my new schedule with my PhD program and all of that. That was through, it's now the end of October. So I apologize for the delay. Not that I have that many people following to have noticed, but to anyone who did or does care. I am back. My Pikachu collection is on this bookcase with my books. And I have more Pokemon in this corner here. And this is my new background and my new computer and my old camera. And actually, I'm going to be upgrading the computer, so maybe it will look even better. But for the most part, this is where I am. So I don't know. There's also that thing of I was like, I'm going to do whatever I want with my channel. And sometimes that means I don't want to do anything because I don't have the energy because I'm transitioning my life. And that's kind of what happened this time. There is some stuff I do want to talk about. There was stuff I wanted to talk about. There was another article I wanted to talk about. There's a whole bunch of stuff I wanted to talk about. And then I just got swept up in everything. But I do want to talk about how I feel now that I've left Japan, what my plans are going forward, if you guys are interested in that. Yeah, just kind of stuff about Japan in my reflection, having returned back after 14 months straight, the longest I've ever been. And also kind of a comparison of how I felt maybe 10 years ago versus, not 10 years ago, 15 years ago. 15 years ago when I was in Japan versus being in Japan now, 15 years after the fact. And I have a very different view upon returning from Japan in my 30s than I did when I was in my 20s, and that kind of has affected how I feel about whether or not I can imagine myself there long term. And I thought maybe you guys would be interested in hearing more about that. I've also struggled a lot because I want to talk about things related to whatever comes to mind. And I'm finally started my autism testing, so I want to talk more about that, but I think I might wait till I get my results and then talk about that, and then I'll talk about that stuff more. And then I wanted to talk about, there are things in Japanese history I do want to talk about, and then there are things about history more broadly that I want to talk about, and I feel like that works. And then sometimes there's pop culture stuff I want to talk about, and then I don't know whether or not that fits. And it's I don't want to make this about a theme. Like I said before, I kind of want to just talk about whatever I want to talk about. But I also feel like I kind of want to not so wildly deviate, or at least not at first. There were some video games I wanted to play too, and I was like, does that make sense to put that here or not? But then because I couldn't figure out the software, it didn't matter anyway. So I was like, but we'll see if that works out too, especially because I have to upgrade the computer to play a game, and then I have only one camera. I might try to get another one because that would be easier to film myself playing a game. I don't know how any of that works. And I don't know, sometimes I think it resonates better when I just talk off the cuff than when I'm trying to organize my thoughts so that I could say them, and then I have to try to edit and whatnot. And I hate editing, and then that makes me not want to make a video at all. But then I don't think you guys even like it that much. See, I'm just rambling. This is me with my unfiltered ADHD. So welcome to that. And let me know if you enjoy that. Because I can just put the topic on screen and then be like, I'm just going to talk about this for 30 minutes, and then it won't be as polished, but maybe it'll be more interesting. And it would also be easier for me to do. Because that would be lovely. And I also have a Twitch, and I don't know how it works, because I tried to do a Twitch video and nobody showed up, and I was like, I don't know how any of this works. Because it'd be fun to do a live and just have like people ask me questions and stuff, but like I don't know how to do that. I mean, I could do that on YouTube too, technically. I don't know how to do that. And I don't have enough people watching me, I think, to get them at the same time watching me, if that makes sense. So these are just thoughts off the top of my head. So thank you for still being here. If you don't mind the fact that I didn't post a video for 2 months, and I'm gonna just keep on doing that, just like randomly making videos and disappearing, and then making videos again, saying whatever it is I feel like talking about. But I do want to make one talking about how I feel about the idea of living in Japan full-time now that I'm in my 30s versus when I was in my 20s. I think that'll be very interesting, and if it's not, I'm just gonna do it anyway because I feel like I really want to talk about it. And that's like a nice, easy, safe topic. Like, let me know if like talking about various ideas from my classwork is interesting, because I'm like in my exam period of my PhD. So I'll be reading a lot of books and articles that talk about a lot of different things in Japan. And if you're into that a little bit highbrow kind of boring stuff, I can talk about that too. I could also talk about Cat's Eye and K-pop and J-pop. I could really, because I also had like an idea for a video where I talk about how like maid cafes and AKB48 are both coming out of the same hostess culture in Japan that stems from the 1980s. That's a really interesting conversation I had with a friend once, but I've always had this sort of thing I wanted to talk about with AKB48 and how they changed Japanese pop music, and it has now changed like the trajectory between K-pop and J-pop to where they're like completely different, but there was a point in the 2000s where they were virtually the same. And if anything, like Japanese pop was more popular because Japanese pop culture was due to anime. And then that sort of shifted when AKB48 became a thing. And because AKB48 is so uniquely tied to Japanese culture, K-pop became free to kind of go in these other directions. And then with the rise of BTS, it just kind of like exploded into so many more, to like the point where you don't get Japanese pop in the way that it used to be, because most of the talent, dancers and singers, are all like going abroad to Korea, becoming K-pop stars, where they're shining and they're doing great. And you still have a lot of really great Japanese pop music and rock music, and it's like a lot of artists. You don't get the girl groups and the guy groups as much, unless they have like a history and they're just like still like going around. I used to be a really big Morning Musume fan, so that's a conversation I was thinking of having. And I definitely want to talk about my experiences. And I could also talk about my work. I do work on suffrage and feminism in 1945. I could talk about that. And I can talk about like I can go real deep into talking about like Meiji Taisho and modernism and Japanese nationalism and the emperor and like all sorts of things, and Marxist theory. I think if something comes up related to, oh, you know what I should do? There's a new prime minister in Japan that is a woman, and she's incredibly nationalist. And I almost want to ask the question, like, is it still feminism if she's terrible? Like, as a question. Like, so many people are like, oh yeah, I'm like, wow, look, it's a win for feminism. There's a woman prime minister. And it's like, yeah, but she's a terrible person. I'm like, but men have been terrible people this whole time. Like, what politician isn't, like, most politicians are not great people, like, or somebody hates them somewhere on some side of the aisle, right? Like, in the US, no matter which president is there, like, half the country hates them. So it doesn't matter whether they're likable or a good person for it to be really interesting that they're a woman. Because it's like, yay, women can be villains now. That's kind of still, like, it didn't stop her from becoming prime minister for whatever reason, even if they're, I don't know, choosing it so that they can look like they're becoming more open or something. But like, Japanese politics is, you know, kind of becoming very anti-immigration, but it's following a trend of like people becoming really nationalist, like all across the board. Like, it's not like unique to Japan, but is like unique is like they have had a very low amount of female politicians compared to the rest of the world. And now they have a prime minister before America has a female president. And I think it's like, oh, look at women being allowed to be the front of a nationalist party when, like, conservatives are so conservative that they tend to not promote people from, like, minority backgrounds or the female gender, I suppose, or, you know what I mean? Like, it's still interesting. Like, celebrating, wait, no, my friend said the phrase is, I support women's rights and wrongs, right? Yeah. Purely, it doesn't negate the fact that it's still the first woman prime minister, even if she's supporting an agenda that most people don't agree. I mean, apparently in Japan, it's most people do support the Nationalist Party, but like internationally, it's like, huh. I don't know. The world is very black and white, and I think people kind of don't realize that you can comfortably live in the gray areas without it having to be, like, women don't have to be perfect in order to be human beings. Does that make sense? Okay, anyway, I can talk about that much better in its own video. Coming soon. This is like a coming soon reel where I'm just giving you my thoughts of things I want to talk about. And if you guys have anything you want me to talk about, I will not be making those old videos that I made. There will be no animations. I don't have the ability, capability, or mental energy to do this. I can yap, and I can yap about whatever it is you want, but you gotta just, you know, give me some recommendations of things to talk about. And it does not necessarily have to be Japanese related, but it would be, I'm trying to stay tangentially, you know, at least within the realm of history, if not Japanese culture. Things that I told you that I'm probably going to want to talk about stuff that I don't really have a good background in, but I will at least let you know if that's the case. Also, I'm just going to, because I'm here and why not, I thought this is funny, right? So I have these two guys are from a gacha machine in Japan, and this is Oda Nobunaga with a big head and a small body. Oh, sorry. Yeah, and this is Oda Nobunaga with a small head and a big body. And that's really funny. So I have stuff like that I can do. If you got this far into the video, please tell me if you think it's really funny that to say Oda Nobunaga or whatever. Just I have no idea. All right, so that's it for today. Please let me know if any of these topics or anything else might interest you, or if you're still here and you're like, I don't care what you have to say, just say whatever and we'll watch it. I appreciate you. If you're, I appreciate everybody who's here. That's about it. All right, thank you. I'll be back probably. I'm not promising anything. It works better that way. Okay, bye-bye.